Hyper Light Drifter was a much beloved little indie game that oozed with style and intense, unforgiving combat. Hyper Light Breaker goes in a completely different direction, going 3D, roguelike, and co-op. While the game is still brutal, don't get me wrong, the dramatic shift in tone and really just entirety of the design choice makes it more of a spiritual successor to Hyper Light Drifter as opposed to a direct sequel. And there's a lot to like about it, but it is in early access, which of course means there's going to be some problems. When you begin, you start off in this little outpost that basically has you and a couple of individual robots, and they're not humans, that basically will give you quests. This is where you upgrade or you can buy new weapons. There's other shops in the town, but you don't have those unlocked right away, so one of the objectives is to get everybody unlocked. This town, this settlement, I should say, reminds me a lot of that town in Stray with the robots where you first start. It's got a lot of style and it's got a lot of charm. And I really should just talk about the art direction here because the color palette is absolutely on point. If you played Hyper Light Drifter, you know what I'm talking about. Bright, vibrant colors. Pinks. You can freaking think cyberpunk, technopunk. I don't really care what you think. The point is it's not bland. I don't want to play a game where the colors are just muted because, hey, we didn't want to put any style in. That's what horror games are for. This, being a fast-paced action roguelike, has a lot of style, and the abilities show off the color. Even the enemies, the worlds, the vibrancy all around. I really appreciate that they were able to capture that and bring it over to 3D. After you leave the settlement, you begin your first run. It's cycles, that's what they are called. So you get 4 lives, and within these 4 lives, you have to basically do one thing. Beat 3 bosses. The bosses are known as crowns, and when you jump into a world, you will have to find keys, defeat certain enemies, open up chests, all that business, and you'll be able to face one of the bosses. Now, normally what you will do is you face a boss, and then you extract, come back, get what you need for the next boss, fight that boss, extract. The problem with trying to go too far is the longer you are in this world, in this cycle, the stronger the enemies become. The more frequent they become, and they will just drop enemies down on top of you. A little alert will pop up and a freaking meteor comes down and suddenly there's 5 enemies in front of you. Some people are going to call that lazy, and I understand that, but you can just really skip most of them. I just drive right past them. The big thing about the game really is that you're looking for loot. You're looking for weapons, melee weapons, sword, axes, dual blades, guns, pistols, SMGs, shotguns, etc. Upgrades, these are sort of like, you dash and you have an invincibility bubble for a second or so. You dash and it reflects. Your weapons do more damage. You take 25% more damage, but you do double damage with your weapons. There's a lot of different things. It's a roguelike. I'm sure you can think about what kind of upgrades are there. On top of all that, you're looking for your currencies, your resources, my upgrade points, my character unlock points, my golden rations to make the blacksmith like me more so that I can afford the upgrades and afford his new fancy weapons. There is a lot to do in each zone. The problem is you die and you lose durability on your equipment. You lose parts of your resources. So this is why you need to extract. And in co-op, that's not always what happens. In fact, day 1, I'm pretty sure I lost most of my progress just playing co-op because we just kept dying over and over. Now it's been a few days and people kind of understand, like, okay, I have all this good gear. I want to go back, restock my med pack, and then go back and fight. So people are learning, but it did take a little while. Let's talk about the combat real quick. It's simple, but you have a lot of options, and that's what I like. It's not hard to get into, but if you want to be good and perfect that parry, which I have not done, it's going to take some time. I personally rock the normal sword for the most part because I think its special ability is kind of overpowered. It's AoE, it does generally fire damage, and it cuts through enemies, and its range. So I just stick with that. Handgun wise, shotgun or SMG, but there's a lot of options. The game's point is to ultimately switch you between ranged and melee. Get your hits in, dash out, pew pew pew, dash back in. As it recharges, slice some more. It's a hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. Most of the time, again, if you are really good at parrying, maybe you can do this, but you're not designed to take hits. There is a tank subclass, but there's no like shield or anything to actually block. It's just perfect parry, you miss, cool, you took that damage. And it is a roguelike. I'm going to keep mentioning this because some people just think they should walk right in and smack, 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 and then win, but that's not what happens. One downside, and I think this is what's holding a lot of people back from playing the game, when you start a new cycle, let's say you beat the bosses or you don't beat the bosses. You lose all your lives and you need to reset the cycle. This does cost you a little bit of currency, but you get it so fast. It doesn't really matter. And when you end a cycle, you do actually get points to your rank, which means you get more currency, you get more levels, you get more upgrades. However, each cycle, the map is randomly generated. And I know people hate that, because here's the thing, for each one of those you can say that, hey, that worked in that game, I can name you 10 that it didn't work in. Procedural generation is one of those things that's just automatically going to turn people off, especially, again, I'm saying it's not a direct sequel, because if you come in thinking it's going to be a sequel to Hyper Light Drifter, you're going to be mad. It's not. Honestly, if that's what you're looking for, do yourself and the developer a favor, don't even pick up the freaking game. Because here's the thing, when I say early access, it's very early access. If it goes alpha to beta to early access, we just finished the beta like 2 weeks ago, maybe. To put it a different way, we're building a house. The foundation is there. It's solid. It's a great start, but we still need walls, windows, doors, a roof, and a freaking toilet. So we got a long way to go. The developers want to work with the players to make a game that is enjoyable for them, which, I don't know, man. Gamers half the time don't even know what they want, so I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's their choice. In fact, they've already done a hot fix. This added some basic upgrades, like now you can start with a gun. I didn't have that when I first started the game. The next hot fix, and my biggest problem with the game by far, I'm saying that this is what the hot fix should be. I don't know if that's what it will be. Medkits. These are vital resources that you can use to revive your players and, of course, heal yourself. Here's the problem. You need these Medigel plant things, and you need 3 of them to make 1 medkit if you're back at the base. If you're in a level, it takes 5 of those, and there are not enough of those flowers for it to justify that rate. Let me explain. So I play this game almost exclusively in co-op because it's a co-op game to me. This is like Total War, or really any game that is fun, more fun co-op. Hyper Light Breaker is a better game because it's co-op. Now, you don't get to choose what part of the run these guys are on or anything when you join up with random people. So what happens a lot of the time is that they will go to a boss fight, they'll lose, activate co-op, and then you jump in. So what happens is you go right into the boss fight. There's no opportunity to even collect the flowers because they're not going to wait around for you. They'll just kick you. So what's happening is I have to go out of my co-op to go into single player and collect these flowers, which is insane. Now, if I could communicate, there's no press enter, press T, there's no chat. You can just point at stuff and like, hey, this is the direction we need to go. If I could communicate, I need to get these flowers, it might be different, but most of the time it's not. And I'm just going to say it. There's been multiple times where I've run out of flowers and medkits and I'm like, let's start another run. I'm like, I'm done playing. So devs, if you're watching, my recommendation is 1 flower to 1 medkit at the base. Keep it 5 out in the field. I completely agree with that. You should not be able to recharge it that easily. Or at the very least, you got to give me a plant that I can grow in my base that will at least give me a flower or something so I have a head start. Ultimately, that is my biggest gripe with the game, is how difficult, quote unquote, it is to get a medkit. And of course, since it's early access, you're going to be fighting a lot of the same enemies. You're going to be fighting the same bosses. You're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff over and over. Like I said, we have a strong foundation here, but that's it. And I should have mentioned this earlier, actually, or one of the things I like most about the game is the hoverboard. Now, it's pretty simple. You just hold the right trigger and basically it's your dash, but there could be a lot more to it. Sometimes I pull off a trick. I don't know how I pulled it off, but I'm jumping constantly, pressing different directions. I want to do backflips. I want to do kickflips. I want to do barrel rolls. Like if we're talking style here, give me more options with that board. You got a home run here. I'm telling you, that is an appealing feature. You should show it off more often. In fact, I think it should be front and center. Get some races going, figure out something to do with that little soccer field, some run, or just tell me how to do the freaking spin jump thing. That would help. That helped too. So I do think the game starts in a good spot. I think we're where we need to be for early access. My concern, and this is a concern I have for all early access games, when's the next big patch? We are in a current economy game-wise where people are fed up. They are not patient. Any little minute road bump, the med kit thing, whatever, they're done with the game. And I don't care when you launch 1.0, they're not coming back. And I'm sure the developers already know all of this. They're better at this stuff than I am, but we need a roadmap. We need so Hades 2, Hades and Hades 2. I know you're going to hate me saying this, but they would be like, here's when the next patch is, and it would be right on the front page. They had a timer. I know it's not easy to pull off, and I know once you put it up there, you're going to have to delay it. But I'm telling you, that goodwill goes a long way for players. I know when the next update is. I know what you're working on. I know what to expect. That puts a player's mind at ease. Anyways, I am going to wrap it up there, but my recommendation is currently, if you're looking for a co-op roguelike that is fun and stylish, I think this game is going to be for you. It's 3 players. Okay, I should mention one tech issue I've been having. I know listen, all our PCs are different. Mine is not all that fancy. So if it can run this game and you have a fancy PC, you should be all right. But there are latency issues, and I'm assuming that might be because it's peer-to-peer. I'm not sure, but you will notice it. You've probably noticed it in the footage. Anyways, I'm going to get back to it because I still have a couple of upgrades I want to get. So if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you're playing the game or not, or why you're not. Maybe you're not even interested. But anyways, later, Gators.